we can start. So, hello, Alice. How are you today?
Today, I'm really well. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's mid-morning here. All my
Yeah,
kids have gone to school, so that feels quite nice.
you have
Everything's quite
kids.
peaceful. Yeah, I've got three kids.
Yeah, where do you live actually?
So I live in northwest of England, so kind of near between Manchester and Liverpool.
Okay.
Um, so it's always raining.
And you have
Um,
always lived there or
I grew up near Oxford,
Oxford?
so in the
Okay.
south, and then fell in love and moved up north.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm stuck now under a grey sky, just looking out the window. But this is where the people I love are, so it's all good.
okay. Great. You are doing well, and me too. It's a great day, and it's again online book fair in Poland, and you are a star here. And this is an interview about your work, your books, and I have a couple of questions prepared. So yeah, I think you are ready to answer them, right?
I would love to.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So we are starting now. Is this time of pandemic difficult to you? How do you feel? How do you cope with it?
I think it's been difficult for everyone, hasn't it? I think it has. We've been lucky.
Yeah.
So my family have been lucky. We've not been too badly affected. Obviously, we're being really careful and trying not to take any risks. But I think everyone's tired, and I think the thing I've noticed the most is the way it's affecting people's mental health. So
I've
you
noticed
know,
it too.
really, I'm noticing, even in my kids, I'm noticing a real kind of, um, I guess, I guess everyone's scared, aren't they?
You have
Um,
three kids, right? And
yeah.
what are names of them?
So
What are the names?
Mikey's 14, Dan is 13, and
Oh,
Jemima is 10.
so teenagers.
Yeah, yeah, I
You
know.
must be brave.
I didn't know what I was getting into. It's wild. It's
Yeah.
funny. But yeah, we're doing all right. And I think pandemic's made us realise that we're lucky that
Mhm.
actually, we've got what we need. We've got a house that's warm. We've got people who love us. We've got enough to eat. We've got friends who care about us, and we've got a health service who will look after us. So I think in some ways it's put things in perspective. I don't know how it's been for you. How have you found it?
It was this first lockdown, it was refreshing. I mean, I could
Mm,
focus on myself, my needs, my real friends.
yeah.
And as I said, it was refreshing because I could verify what is important to me.
Yes.
And I still have, I am tired, of course, because in Poland it's almost a second lockdown now, and the situation
Same for us. Yeah.
is not good. But we are working on it. I think we are. I'm not quite sure how it looks like really, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this disease, this COVID thing, it's spreading all the time. I have high hopes for the future, of course, because I'm an optimist. And
Oh, good.
yeah, of course, this is my nature. Um, at this moment, I feel well. I'm peaceful. I have what I need. I have what I want, and I have job. I have my people at work who support me, and I support them. So it's really precious.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
That's
have
so
the opportunity to talk to my authors from abroad
I know.
online, but it's a good thing.
I think that's been the loveliest thing
Yeah.
actually in terms of connection. I think it's encouraged us to branch out more and
Hmm.
to be a bit braver, be a bit more creative in the ways that we're
Yes.
doing things. And I've loved that part of it.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, being an author's pretty lonely. well, it's not necessarily lonely, it's solitary. You're on your own a lot. So yeah, it's been nice to have more time to...
You work with your brain and your fingers, and you have
Yeah,
to be creative here,
yeah.
and then put it in words. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first story you have ever written, and where did you do that? Do you remember? What was the place that you have written your first story?
The first story I remember
Yeah.
writing, I think I had just been given a book about myths and legends. And I think, as is my nature, I'd become a little bit obsessed.
Oh.
And so I remember I was in class in school, and I was writing a story, and it was basically a bit like Persephone fan fiction.
I love
So
this myth. I love it. Yeah.
me too.
High five.
I think it just totally, it captured something in me. So yes, this story is about kids having a party and having to look for something in a garden, and a girl picking a flower and being sucked down into the underworld. So I think I was 7, so you know, pretty dark. And
Yeah, but it sounds really gripping, I would say.
I think it was an all right story. But
Have
I
you
loved...
developed it? Do you want to develop it?
I yeah, I at the moment I'm playing around with some stories about kind of retellings of well-known stories, and I
We
think
will
Persephone has to
go
be
to
there.
that thing that's part of your work, yes, later on maybe. How did you come up with the idea of writing Ink series, and how did the process look like? I'm very curious about it.
I think again it was whatever I was obsessed with at the time. I've had a bit of a long-standing obsession with ancient Egypt and their kind of death practices and things like that. So I'd recently heard or read somewhere that an author's job is to kind of pursue their weird obsessions. And then there was this documentary on television about the ancient Egyptians' approach to death. And I was watching it and I was just like, oh, this is so good. I love it. And then ping, in my mind came this, hey, don't forget, you've got to pursue your weird obsessions. So then I thought, okay, so what if we had a different approach to death than we have currently? So certainly in my culture, the way we approach death is we are scared of it.
Yeah.
And you know, a physical dead body, we never see dead people. We bury people quickly, or we cremate them quickly.
Yes.
And we're quite distanced from death, understandably, because I think it does scare us. And so I think the beginning of thinking about Ink was just this question of what would a culture that had a more open approach to death look like? And I thought that if you had, you know, lots of mummies around your house, it might get a bit busy. So then, so then the idea of skin books came. And then, to be honest, it probably took another year of just letting the idea marinate, and carrying on imagining it, making lots of notes, having lots of ideas before I was ready to actually sit down and write some stuff. Yeah.
So it was a process, but not a long process, I'd say, a year or two. So
Yeah.
you did it rather quick, how to say that.
Yeah, I guess so. And I think so I set myself a challenge as well. So I realise as I speak to you, I'm going to end up talking about death all the time. I thought to myself,
We can talk about death. Why not?
I thought to myself, at the end of my life, would I rather be able to say, do you know, I tried it and I failed, or I didn't try at all?
Yeah, it's a
And I
good
thought, well, it's
approach.
better to have tried.
Yeah.
Um, and my youngest was heading to school. She was just about to start school. And so I thought, right, okay, here's my chance. I'm going to give myself a year to write this book and to see if I can get an agent. So,
And you did.
Yeah, got a literary agent. So, it, yeah, it was about a year and a month, and it all happened. So, yeah, I think a good deadline works for me, definitely.
I think it does for me too, because it
Yeah,
works as a motivation, like a motivation.
yes,
Yes, there's something in it. Like it puts you, it makes you feel like you have to do something because it's good for you, because you want to do it, and you have the time set, so you have the deadline, and yeah, it's helping.
definitely. And especially if you've told someone else
Yeah.
that you're going to do it. I'm I'm terrible with motivation. I'm easily distracted. And so
Me
yeah,
too.
I need as many, it's terrible working from home, isn't it? I need as many deadlines and kind of external um, things in place to keep me going. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And who is your favorite character from the books and why?
Mm. Ooh,
Is it the main character or not?
okay. I have two. Can I have
Okay.
two?
Yes.
No, I love Leora. So
Mhm.
she's the main character, and I love her. Um, I relate to her a lot. Her process of being in this very safe community, thinking she knew everything, thinking everything was fine, and then having to kind of unpick that all and find something new. I really relate to that. And so a lot of what goes on for her was sort of going on for me in part of my life. So she's very important to me. She's very precious to me. But I think a character that I loved writing was Obal, who is the one who teaches her how to tattoo.
Like them
And
very
I
much.
love him because he's wise, but he's also a bit
Yeah.
mysterious.
He has
Um,
this sort of charisma.
yeah, I think he's the kind of person who, if I met him
Yeah.
in real life, I'd be drawn to, but also a bit terrified of.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I really enjoyed writing Obel. Um, yeah, and he was, as I was writing, he was a character who just kind of ping appeared, and I was like, oh hello,
Oh.
here you are. Yeah,
Do you have tattoos?
I do now. Yes,
Okay.
I didn't when I was first starting. So I didn't when I was so I think it was just after the second book
Okay.
that I got my first tattoo, which is
Oh,
so it's
interesting.
just blue dots, which
Mhm.
it's a good example of ink actually. Um, the dots represent a significant date,
Mhm.
and it's one of those things where anyone looking at it would just see dots. Someone I tell would know, oh, it means a significant date. Someone I know very, very well would know what date it means and why. But
Understand.
Leora would know. She didn't know in an instant what it was about. Um, and at the end of writing the trilogy, I got. I'm not going to show you because it would
Yeah,
involve
of
undressing too
course.
much. But I got a magpie and a crow on my shoulders,
Oh,
as a bit of a farewell to the series. Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah, I love them.
So did you put a part of yourself, your mind, your soul into Leo's mind, Leo's character? There is a part
Yeah,
of you, yes.
definitely. So I spent a lot of my young adult life in as a very, very committed religious person, in quite a conservative community. So, you know, whatever the Bible said,
You did. You believed?
we believed that was the only truth. And I lost my faith. And that was huge, and it changed everything. And it was painful, because when you lose your faith, you kind of lose your
Part of your personality.
completely, and you lose your foundation.
Yeah.
You lose everything that you thought you built everything, all of your life on. So yeah, she definitely represents part of a kind of dismantling that I was going through. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Which part of your books were the most difficult to write?
Okay. I'm not very good at planning.
Okay.
So I'm very jealous of authors who are amazing at planning their books, who just, before they start, they know exactly what's going to happen, and it's all beautiful. And that was the hardest bit for me, to have a really clear picture in my mind of what was going to happen, both in the individual books, but also in the whole trilogy. I found that a real challenge. And there was a time where it was with the second book, with Spark. I sent my first draft to my editor, and her comments back were, "Oh, Alice, I love it. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. Now, if we just actually work on finding a story." So I'd basically written some really nice words, but nothing was happening.
Okay.
I think I would really like, I'd like it if everyone could just sit around and have cups of tea and be nice to each other, really.
Oh.
I'm not very good at conflict. So
you should write a cheerful story or a romantic story about, I don't know, maybe a couple who meets and have a nice time together, a nice life together. Why not?
That would be nice. Although I don't think I can write kissing. It would be terrible.
Oh, I understand.
Oh, disastrous.
Understandable. Yes.
That's something that I'm working on now. I'm surrounded. I'm looking at my very, very messy desk, and I'm surrounded by books about how to write, how to plan. I'm going to find you one. So, Save the Cat Writes a Novel. This is a very good book about how to plan and how to structure. So, yeah, basically every time I start a new story, I buy about 15 books on how to write a book. Yeah.
So you have to find your own pattern or your own way to write. Yeah. I think because I know a lot of authors now, and every one of them has a different way to write a book, and it's very individual. And there is no, I said a pattern, but there is no pattern, because everyone has a different way to do that. I know that, for example, Anne Cleves, I don't know if you know her, she doesn't plan at all. She just writes.
Wow.
She sits, she writes, and then she just, she edits things. Yeah. But she just wants to put everything on paper, what she has in her mind, and then something just, appears. And later on, she works on it. Yeah, because
Yeah.
this is her way to do that. So yeah.
And I
And you.
think that's definitely how I started with
Mhm.
with ink. I had a sense of where it was going,
Yeah.
but it was much more intuitive, much more
Mhm.
playful.
Maybe
And
you should
that's
maybe you should
yeah,
rely on your intuition more.
yeah. I think so. I think it's a big thing. I'm sure we'll talk about a bit later, kind of what my recommendations would be for other
Yes.
writers.
Yes.
And yeah,
Okay.
I think that's part of it actually.
I have
Yeah.
it planned. So next question. Um,
Mm.
what inspires you in your writing, life, and work?
The things that inspire me vary from month to month, year to year, week to week. So a bit like I was saying before, it's the little things that you suddenly become obsessed by. So at the moment, I'm doing lots of reading about how people recover from traumatic events, and what it takes, and why two people can go through the same difficult experience but process it differently and be affected differently. And that's not a story, but eventually it will come out in a story somewhere. And so a lot of what I do is just allowing myself to be interested in things, which is so lovely, isn't it? That
Yeah,
that's
is
part of my
yeah, it
job.
is.
I love it. But for me, a lot is just I'm inspired by the the people I know and by the people who everyone we know faces incredible hardship, don't they, in one way or another. And the thing that inspires me is how they get through it and how they're changed by it and how they view it and how they process it. And I've got these gorgeous friends who are thriving, and I'd look at them and think, you're a rock star, you're amazing. You I wish everyone had the secret that you seem to have, that you have joy. So that's the thing that inspires me. But also, obviously, going for a walk in the woods and reading and all of those things. You never know what you'll find in the woods, do you?
Yes,
Hopefully not a dead body, but
hopefully. And music as well. Do you listen to something? What interests you when it comes to music?
I I was talking to a friend about this recently,
Yeah.
and we both said that we used to listen to loads of music, but now all of our listening time seems to be audiobooks.
Oh,
That
yeah.
so spare time seems to be much more kind of listening to stories or podcasts or um, things like that. So I've lost touch with music a bit, apart from whatever my kids are listening to, or like the true 80s 90s trash that my husband plays when he's cooking dinner. And like last night our 10-year-old was like, Dad, you play so much 80s music, I think I'm starting to like it. And she was like, oh no.
Success.
So yeah, it's been a while since I found um a musician that I'm a bit in love with. You know how you fall in love with music.
Yeah.
um yeah, so that's something I miss actually.
Okay. You partly answered for that question, but do you have your writing routine? And
Mm.
in your opinion, what is the most crucial in becoming a writer?
Mm. So in theory,
Yeah.
my writing routine is the kids go to school and I sit down and do some work. In practice, I I mean, should I show you my desk? So yeah, I'll show you my desk.
If you
So
want
here's my desk.
Whoa.
Because
Marvelous.
so messy. Because I'm so distracted by a million things. It's terrible. So I'm currently, I've got 5 books here. I've got some candles that I made. I've got some soap that I made. I've got letters that I'm about to post. So I'm a very distractible person. So my writing routine has to, it's basically like training a dog, I think. I I have to give myself lots of treats.
Okay.
And I have to have a really specific to-do list. And
it's helpful.
And I have a timer.
Oh.
Nice.
And
so it's a visual timer, so I can see how much time I've got left. And so the best thing for me is if I set a timer for 25 minutes, and I work for that time, and then have a 5-minute break, and then back to work for 25 minutes. But I guess the strange thing is about writing or any creative work is that it's not all writing.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
You have to make space for all the other bits, including going for a walk in the woods and
because your mind works on and on all the time, right?
Yeah. And also I do think that there's some magic about napping, so having a little sleep. I don't know if maybe ideas and gravity, if you're up like this, your ideas fall down, and so you have to do this, and then your ideas can go back to your brain. Obviously I'm a scientist.
That's interesting. Yes, maybe. But I do my naps almost every day, like for 15 minutes a day. Yes, and it helps me. Sure.
I think that's really good. I think I recommend a nap. There you go.
Me too. Napping is good. Okay. What do you do in your spare time when you don't write or think about writing? I've heard that you make soaps.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, so adorable.
I wonder if I can. So I like this soap. It's wrapped in plain film, but it looks like a crystal. So I like doing lots of different craft things. Crochet and all sorts of things that keep me creative when I'm not necessarily feeling like writing, because I think that creativity generally builds creativity. So as long as you're doing something creative, I think it boosts all of your creativity. So I think lots of people who are writers will also, people who sketch or people who knit or people who do music or dancing or things like that. And so I do lots of that kind of thing. I unfortunately end up spending quite a lot of time faffing about on social media. I'm very good at that, but that does not help my creativity. I love reading and I love listening to audiobooks. That's if I could have my dream evening, it would be a cup of hot chocolate, a lovely book, and a nice blanket, and life's perfect.
Same here. I'm a bookworm, of course. That's obvious.
But that's a relief.
What do you value the most in life? In your life? What's the most precious for you?
I think it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. about the pandemic, I think it's made it so clear that it's the people in my life that are the precious things. And that really everything else could just go.
Yeah.
But if you've got people that you love, who you can care for, who care about you, and if you're able to keep them safe, then that's even better. So yeah, I think for me, that's what life is for. What about you? It's a big question.
I know it's a big question, and it's one of my favorite questions. So that's why I asked you about it. And I feel the same. My people, my friends, people I love. This is what is most important to me. So
Yeah.
high five again. Is there any dream that is waiting to come true? Do you have something? Do you have a dream?
Ooh. There are loads of things that I would love to happen. So, you know, I've got book ideas that aren't even nearly begun, but I'd love to see them become real. I'd love to live somewhere where I have maybe a stream nearby and some trees. That would be lovely. Like, oh, can you imagine how beautiful it would be? But I think I'm learning about myself that I can easily focus on the things that I don't have and become sad and become, you know, it then makes me feel grumpy and as though I'm missing out on life. And so I think I'm practicing being satisfied with the things I have. So yeah, allowing dreams to be this kind of lovely sense of possibility without it being, oh, well, if that doesn't happen, life will be miserable and I won't have made it, or, you know, yeah, I don't dream of being rich or famous or anything like that. You know, if I could have a magic wand, I think my dream would be make all my family very safe and happy and healthy and stick together forever. That would be the best dream.
We have a lot in common, you know.
I like it.
We could be friends.
Yeah, and I think that is what matters, isn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And how do you perceive the YA genre? What is the purpose of it? And do you think it is going to change in the next years?
I'm really bad at predicting things. So I'm the person who, when your friends say, oh, we've got together and we're going out with each other, I'm like, I did not see that coming. So I won't make any predictions. For me, YA is the chance for young people to see themselves as the main character. Because so often the world says to young people, when you're a grown-up, then you can ...
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing that adults are failing badly at looking after the world, at looking after people, at looking after the environment, at supporting the vulnerable. And I think it's young people who are the ones who actually have a proper sense of justice and passion and fight. And I think that the more young people see themselves in books being people who can change the world, then the more courage it can bring to make young people say, actually, we don't have to wait until we're grown-ups. actually being a grown-up doesn't really seem to bring much more wisdom. But also, I
solve the
think,
problem.
no, it doesn't. And I think that there's just something really, really free in writing YA. I think in terms of the topics that get covered in YA, I just think it's so exciting. I feel like there's very little that is out of bounds when it comes to writing for teenagers. That actually, in terms of deep thinking, caring about humans, caring about the world, caring about the big questions of life, YA is where it's at. So that's why it's an exciting age group to write for. It's why it's what I read most of. Yeah, I think it's great.
I agree.
Hooray! More, please.
Yes, thank you for your answer. Do you have ideas for a new series, and do you write something at this moment?
Well, I'm not writing anything specific, so I've not got anything under contract or anything like that, but I am writing and I am dreaming. So I'm dreaming about reimaginings of familiar stories. I was talking about that earlier. And that's been really delighting me. And I think there is something about going back to the things that you loved when you were a child that you still love now. I'm also writing at the moment something that's very gentle, which is about magic and emotion. And I'm loving writing it. And I think it's reminded me that that's what my job is. My job is to love writing. And if other people like it, then that's an added bonus.
Sounds interesting, and I will be waiting for it.
That's really cool.
I forgot to show you Polish covers. I know they are similar to the original ones.
Yeah, I've not seen Skór yet.
Yeah.
I have them. I have them
yes.
on my shelf behind me.
This is the second and the third one.
I've not seen the third one yet. That's so gorgeous.
Is a little bit different than the original one because our book is a little bit brighter.
Yeah.
It's not so dark as the original one. So yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
How do I pronounce that? Blitzna?
Yes, almost like that. It's blizna.
Blizna.
Yes, exactly. The second one is spark, iskra.
Iskra.
Yes. And the first one, tusz.
Tusz.
Yes.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you.
So here they are.
They're so beautiful, aren't they? I was so lucky with those covers.
Yeah.
They're so pretty.
Beautiful. And what is your favorite book of all times, or books?
My favorite that I reread a lot is I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith, which is an old book. It's about a girl I think she's turning 17 and she lives in a castle. And it's very romantic and it's very sweet. Yeah, I love that. I think that's my favorite of all time. Okay. But then my top 10 changes.
And what are you currently reading or listening? Can you recommend something to me?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm really enjoying quite spooky books at the moment. Have you read The Call by?
Yes, we are the publisher of it. Yeah, just give me a second. I will show you something.
So The Call by Heather O'Gillen.
O'Gillen, yes. I have it in my stack.
Ah,
We have a publisher, and you know, it was the first book, the first series that we have published, and it was our start
it's
as a publisher
that
of
is,
YA stories. This is the
gosh, look at
call.
that
Yeah,
cover.
and look at that.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. That's so perfect with the story.
Yeah, I know, and this is the second one, and it's almost like the first one. Oh, yeah.
It's so good. So yeah, okay.
They're
You've
beautiful.
read those. I love those. So anyone watching, read those because they
Yeah,
are so scary. They're fairy books, but they're fairies as Irish mythology describes fairies.
yeah,
Like, oh my word, you would not mess with them. It's so good. And there's great, the main character is disabled, and it's great
yes.
to read that. I've just finished a reread of the Lockwood and Co series by Jonathan Stroud. I think there are 5 books in that. And that is about a version of London where it's suddenly become overrun by ghosts, and only children and teenagers can see them. So they are forced to be the ones who fight ghosts. And it is mystery, slight horror without being too scary. I just love it, and the characters are so perfect. And then for younger readers, I quite enjoy some children's stuff at the moment. I love the Nevermore series, so the Morrigan Crow series, and
I don't know
that's
it,
what
but I've heard about it. Yes.
so good, better than Harry Potter.
Of course.
And it's oh yeah, so that's what I'm listening to at the moment. I'm listening to the latest Nevermore. It's called, in the UK it's called Hollowpox. Yeah, and it's really good. It's, yeah, again, it's got some great kind of creepy mysterious bits in. I really like it.
Thank you for your recommendations. I was about to say something, but I forgot about it. Oh, have you read The City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab?
I haven't yet.
You haven't? Yeah, and this is a great ghost story and scary story for younger readers, of course, but it's a great series. I like it very much. So
Oh, I'll have a
I
look.
recommend it. Yes.
Thank you.
I have
Thanks so much.
these somewhere there over there on my shelves, so I will show you. But I really like the main character, and it is spooky and perfect for autumn. So yeah, you should definitely read this one.
I love it. Thank you.
And something from our books. Oh, do you know These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling?
No, I've not
It's
read it.
also a spooky story. There's a lot of action in it and queer characters, and we
Yeah.
are also a publisher of it.
Oh, amazing.
There's our cover. It's different than the original one. Look at it.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, These
Your
Witches
covers.
Don't Burn. We always try to make the best covers.
Yeah, it matters. It
Yes,
really
it
matters.
matters, of course. Yeah. So here are my recommendations to you. And
Awesome.
it's time to end.
Oh, it's been so lovely. Thank
Yes, it
you.
was. Thank you very much, Alice, for joining me today and for being with us. And as I said, it will be published on our YouTube channel. You will have the link for it. And I will stop recording now. And I will thank you all the viewers for being here with us today. Yeah, and we will see hopefully with Alice once again one day.
I love that.
And we are waiting for your new books, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.